So we do have Aditi, and this interview is brought to us by BetJack. Now is the time, Ohio sports fans. Sports betting is live. Download the BetJack app today so you'll be ready to go on all the action. BetJack, it is Ohio Sportsbook. What up, Aditi?
Google what to make for dinner, frankly.
What? Aditi, are you a
I send some
vegetarian?
ideas my way.
Hey,
Sorry,
there's
G.
apps
What
for
was
that, Aditi. There's apps for that.
She is a vegetarian.
So you are a vegetarian, right, Aditi?
I am a vegetarian.
I don't know
yes.
why you just gave me the vegetarian vibe. Did you kind of work your way into that, or did you it was a lifestyle from get-go?
From the start. So my parents are I am Jain, Jain. Look it up. It's a religion based out of India that's really not about strict religious tenets, but more about a way of living. And one of the central ideas or premises is that we all come from Mother Earth. And so we don't necessarily need to kill animals to get everything that we need for our sustenance. My parents don't eat meat. They didn't feed me meat. They didn't cook meat in the house. When I became a certain age, they said, you were free to do whatever you would like to do. We're not going to cook that food for you, but you make your own decisions. And I just read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, which is about slaughterhouses. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Anybody that
really
reads
good.
that book is done with eating meat forever. Because it's been recommended, because I'm a big meat lover, it's been recommended to me by 2 or 3 people, but they all gave me that caveat. They said, listen, if you read it, you'll never consume meat again.
Yes. And again, look, like, it is my nature. I believe what I believe. I'm not going to force my beliefs on anybody else. You do what's right for you.
You're a
but I will
wise
say
person.
this, it's a very, very healthy way of living. There are so many misconceptions about whether you get enough protein or not. I get my protein. Like, I'm good. I'm healthy. Here I am. And I just prefer it.
Do your children and your husband?
I think every person who is responsible in their household for cooking every single day for a family, and especially when a person has a spouse who works at home and who is always eating lunch at home too, at some point you just get sick of cooking. And I long for those days when I was single. Did you guys ever have that day where you're just like, you know what, I just want to eat cereal for dinner today?
Sure.
And that's all you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I do that.
Yeah,
yeah.
so you can't do that when you have kids and you have a spouse. I can't tell you. 3 times last week I was like, can we just eat cereal? Like, can we just do that?
It is a burden, man.
I used to make the
it's a
Stouffer's
burden.
lasagna all the time.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the pop-in quick meals. I like those.
I
Do
watch.
you really? Do you eat microwave meals?
I do every day for lunch. After this show, I do a workout. I go upstairs. I microwave a Stouffer's.
Yeah.
Lasagna's great.
Yeah.
Most of them are like kind of lean cuisine-ish. They're low in calories, but they're quick, they're easy, and they're surprisingly good. Like, they don't look good going into the microwave.
It's come a long way.
It's a frozen block, but man, some elves jump into that microwave and they make them taste okay.
They do.
So
when I was in my 20s in San Antonio, I remember the Stouffer's mac and cheese was my favorite.
That's top
I
shelf.
loved that mac and cheese. Yeah, but now I try to cook and then nuke what I've cooked at least, or cook enough portions, and then it just feels like you're being a little
fact, do you know it's Stouffer's that's up there in Cleveland here? Little known fact, they make the mac and cheese for Panera. For Panera.
Really?
Oh, wow.
They
I didn't
do,
know
and
that.
they sell it in stores. And I have to tell you, I've been to Panera. I like their macaroni and cheese. I liked it so much that a friend of mine's husband works at Stouffer's, got all these free samples, and he gave a bunch of these Stouffer microwave mac and cheese, and he goes, if you like Panera, you'll love this. It's exactly what they serve.
Wow.
And lo and behold, man, I heated that thing up.
They don't change the recipe at all for Panera. I thought Panera used like a white sauce, like a white cheese, and the Stouffer's is a yellow cheese.
Yellow, yeah.
What he told me was this is the exact same macaroni and cheese that Panera serves.
Wow.
I ate it, and I couldn't taste the difference. And the real judge of this is my granddaughter, because it's her favorite meal.
Yeah.
And Hayes gobbled it up. She loved it, and she's very particular with her mac and cheese.
You know what's so funny is that when my son was really little, he loved when I made mac and cheese with like the pureed butternut squash, like you make it from scratch.
Yep.
And like you put the butternut and it's like so rich and creamy. And my daughter, for whatever reason, loves that like fake processed.
Oh, the Kraft?
Yeah,
Oh,
my kids
no,
eat that.
the powdered cheese.
That's all I can get my
What
kids to eat.
is that? What is that powdered cheese?
She has a less discerning palate. That's all you can say.
Well, she's the kid that was born in Cleveland, so maybe that's what it is.
That's great.
Well, I watched the documentaries, Aditi, on Netflix about being a vegan, and I was fascinated by it. And I went vegan for 14 hours, and it was the worst 14 hours of my life. I said, "Give me a steak!" By the way, but I tried.
Jason, that's like every time I try to say I'm going to go dry. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have a dry month. All right, I got a dry day in. Awesome.
By the way,
Monday.
but you're not vegan. You're just vegetarian.
Right.
Okay, vegan.
You know what? I couldn't give up dairy just because I love cheese so much. I love Greek yogurt. I don't eat as much ice cream as I used to, but still, like, I really love dairy, and I just like. I think you do what works for you, and life is meant to be enjoyed. And if I can't do all these other things that I used to do, like eat cereal for dinner, I may as well at least get my cheese, you know?
Was it a deal breaker when you met your husband? Did you say, now listen, this is the lifestyle I lead. You can leave whatever you want. Like, does he eat meat, or has he adapted to it? Will you cook meat?
I will.
Wow.
That's love right there.
Don't tell my mom and dad though. I mean, I guess don't tell my mom.
Hey, that's love though, right there, Aditi.
Some of it. Like, I'm not peeling the fat off of a chicken, you know? Like, if that needs to be prepped, someone else has to do that. But you know what's funny about this is that actually I think my husband's favorite meal that I cook, and I'm very much like an Indian cook, which means like a little of this, a little of that, taste it, okay. Like, I couldn't tell you it's exactly a teaspoon of cumin and exactly a teaspoon and a half of oregano. I just like do it by whatever flavor. My husband's favorite meal that I make is taco beef, which I have never tasted, obviously. I have no idea. I just kind of like throw it in there.
Yeah, and that's trust that the spices are right.
That taco and if it's not, screw it. You're not eating it.
Yeah, it's not your problem.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
Hey, Aditi, we picked our...
I couldn't stand the smell of beef. And there's still some things, like when my husband cooks sausage, not a fan of that. Fish sometimes.
There's not much about your...
I know this isn't why you had me on the Ultimate Cleveland.
No, this is the best part.
I think Aditi has complained about her husband on our show like 5 weeks in a row.
Does that give you insight into where I am?
Yeah,
it does.
Like,
believe it or not, it does.
It's just like not working for me.
It also
I think it would have been a better place if he had gone to France a month ago when he was supposed to for the week. Yeah. That whole like absence makes the heart grow fonder. But then he had to go get COVID. Like, of all weeks to get COVID, you had to get it the week you were finally going to leave.
Exactly. You screwed up your alone time.
What a selfish jerk.
That is very selfish.
I just noticed she's a dude. She's like us.
Yeah.
Us, we do family dance party when it's just the kids and I. And I could feed them cereal. They wouldn't say anything about it.
Man, oh man.
One more thing before we go back to whatever it is we're talking about.
Sports.
Phillips, I want to call him Jacoby Phillips, but it's Jacob Phillips, right?
Yeah.
Jacob, yeah.
Okay, so Jacob Phillips became mostly a vegetarian a year ago. And he said that he tries to, and it was kind of Jarvis Landry's influence, and he was really trying to think about what he puts in his body and how healthy he could be. And when we talked to him about it, he said he was about like 95%. He said some days when he went home from the facility, he just was so tired and he was looking for fast food. And he was saying there's not a lot of great fast food places near the facility that are vegetarian, which I need to take him to Aladdin's one day. Have you guys eaten at Aladdin's?
Yes.
Yeah, very good.
So is your point of this story that it doesn't make you any better of a football player to be vegetarian?
No. Hey, wasn't Prince Fielder was a vegetarian? There's a lot of great athletes. Arian Foster.
Yeah, Prince Fielder went vegetarian, then his career was over.
Oh, come on, Adam.
He had to retire at 31.
Oh, please.
By the way, very quick story. Very, very quick story. I got invited to a wedding with I think my wife and I had not even gotten married yet, so this is like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, whatever. We got invited to a wedding in Pennsylvania. We flew to Pennsylvania. We went up into the middle of nowhere, and so it wasn't Pennsylvania, it was Massachusetts. Middle of nowhere in Massachusetts. The only reason I went to this freaking wedding is because I was told this wedding was a Chinese buffet. Whoa! What could be better than a Chinese buffet wedding? That's the greatest wedding of all time. What I was not told is that it was a vegan Chinese buffet. It was disgusting.
I
It was
wish I could have
one
seen
plate.
your face when you
Oh my
sat down
God!
and
It
heard
was
it was
one
vegan.
plate of greasy vegetables after the other. It was horrible. If you're gonna do vegan, which is bad enough, why would you pick Chinese food?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Vegan has come a long way, I will say, in the
Not
last
vegan
10,
Chinese.
15 years.
Although that was a while
Vegan
ago.
food's come a long way. I would like to go vegan. I would like to. I love steak too much. I can't do it.
Yeah, I've thought about it too, and there's just no way I could give up steak. I give up steak for maybe 2 days. That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
You gotta look at our
I will
AFC
say
North
this,
team.
though. I don't like the. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
I said you got to look at our AFC North team and see if you agree with it.
Oh yeah. Okay, go ahead, please.
A lot
Throw
of
it
thought
up
went into
for me,
this,
Mikey.
Aditi. A lot of
At
thought.
least
We did it like the
37
war
seconds.
room.
At least 37 seconds of thought.
This is our consensus pick.
We'll go backfield, receivers, and offensive line. Aditi, do you agree
Are
with
we wrong on any of these?
our backfield here?
But is P. Ryan really a fullback? P. Ryan's not a fullback.
No,
He's not, but he was like our utility running back because he's a real good, blitz pickup guy and utility guy that does a little of everything.
You
Wait a
could go
minute. But
Patrick
doesn't
Ricard.
Someone has a real fullback though? Who
Patrick
has a real
Ricard.
We don't want a real fullback on our team.
Oh.
Mikey
You
insisted
don't
on
like
P. Ryan being
Ricard?
on the team.
So you would take P. Ryan. Oh, you don't want a real fullback. Okay.
Yeah, and
you're
Samaje
looking
P. Ryan's
for,
my
like, a
favorite
hybrid.
irrelevant player in the NFL. So
He's not irrelevant.
Listen, I would almost argue if you're looking for kind of that random hybrid, like halfback / fullback / tight end, like you just want that random
Freiermuth?
utility. Well, no, because Freiermuth's a real tight end. I would say Connor Hayward. Because Connor Hayward is a big body, so he could definitely be a fullback. He could definitely bruise that way. You know that he's a really good pass catcher. He can play kind of that fullback, halfback, tight end, hybrid, whatever. I don't know that you're putting P. Ryan out in space. Like, yes, he's a good third down pass catcher. Go back to the Super Bowl. The Bengals had him on the field 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 4 times instead of Joe Mixon. But I just don't know that he gives you as much. If you're looking in that position for a true utility and not a true
we kind of
fullback.
stumbled into that. We weren't even going to name a fullback, but Mikey had put it on the list. None of us thought about a fullback. We just went running back
I mean, if
1
you're
and
taking
2.
fullback, I'd go with Ricard, right?
Yeah,
Over like Watt or over, whatever. But if you're kind of trying to jam an athlete in, then maybe in that role I'd argue. But whatever. This is like.
What do you think about
tomatoes.
Najee over Mixon for the second running back?
I mean, I'm good with that right now, I think. A year ago, I wouldn't have said the same. But right now.
But it wasn't
right
like
now, I'm
Najee
good.
had a particularly good year either.
No, but so first of all, Najee was hurt at the start of the year. Shouldn't have been playing. And that line took a lot to get going. I think that there was a lot of that. I think that Najee can do more in space. I think Najee is deceivingly strong. Najee had more yards behind the line of scrimmage than anybody as a rookie, and by all accounts should have had PTSD all of last year. I like what Najee gave you a year ago and what his trajectory is as well right now.
Yeah, so you
And
agree
again,
with
I don't
everything
know
then,
necessarily
except for the
said same,
fullback.
but no, I will say that.
All right,
Okay.
so we're all in agreement on quarterback 1 and 2, running back 1 and 2. Let's go to wide receivers and tight ends. Is that on the next page?
And tight end 2 is David Njoku. We just didn't have a
Wait,
second
wait,
point.
wait. You're going back, but can I just get a window into why you rated Lamar higher than Deshaun?
See,
It was 3-1. G did go with Deshaun. The rest of us took Lamar. Well, who would you would
Why?
go with Deshaun?
Better runner.
Well, because I thought, first of all, like Deshaun played so bad at the end of last year and hasn't played at a high level in 2 years. I got to see it. Even though I don't think, to be fair, I don't think Lamar played at a particularly high level this year either. However, I'm thinking of it from a team perspective, and I could run gadget plays with Lamar as my second quarterback. I'm thinking of it that way too.
Oh, okay. All right. I see it. So you're just kind of thinking more of like constructing the team and where the puzzle
Yes.
pieces fit together as opposed to just in a silo.
Yeah,
I
you
think
could have
I think this one is really hard. We could say Lamar wasn't healthy and Deshaun has had a long layoff. But is Lamar not being healthy part of his ability? That whole line of your availability is your greatest ability. does Lamar
Yes.
need better receivers? Does Deshaun need more time in the offense? You could go either way. I
Right.
just sort of was curious.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
struggled with that a little bit.
Yeah,
We
Why
did.
we
it's a fair discussion,
Yeah.
no doubt.
A year from now, that could look a lot different.
Oh, 100%.
A lot
Okay.
different.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead to page
So
2.
wide
Mikey.
receivers and tight ends. Let's
And
take a look.
Just a reminder, tight end 2 is David and Njoku. David
Yeah,
and
I
Njoku.
was in the minority, Aditi. I went with your guy, Freiermuth, as the second tight end, but I got outvoted here.
Yeah, no, sorry, I 100% would take Freiermuth as the second
Yeah.
tight end.
Agreed.
One-
not,
100%.
not even close for you.
Yeah, no.
Their
Doesn't
numbers are
drop.
almost identical.
He's very good in the red zone. I don't think it was used enough. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger and I actually agree on that. Even Ben Roethlisberger said Freiermuth is your best player out on the team. Why aren't you using him more? It was an absolute travesty that Freiermuth wasn't used more in the red zone. I mean, that's where he was money a year ago and you could really count on him. But these are a whole other complex conversation with who's calling the offense.
Sure.
We should really talk about who your coaching staff is, frankly. But yeah, I definitely take Freiermuth over Njoku. And then the wide receivers, Jamar Chase 1, for sure. T. Higgins 2, that one is really hard to argue with as well. And then you said Amari and Deontay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
I don't
now,
disagree.
we struggled over Deontay Johnson a little bit, and
I had
Tyler
Deontay
Boyd.
3, actually, and Amari 4, but I didn't quibble about
And
that.
I said I might put Tyler Boyd in there instead of Deontay because if I'm making a team, again, Tyler Boyd is a slot receiver. Deontay's not really.
Yeah, but you know what? Deontay can play everywhere, and Deontay's
True.
a home run hitter. Deontay's the type of guy that if he gets the ball
a
in his
home run
hands, he could take it to the house.
But he wasn't a home
And-
run hitter this year.
We had no
Well,
touchdown.
because again, the offense was horrible.
Well,
the offensive design was
He
horrible.
got caught from behind and tackled inside the 5-yard line 5 times this year, 4 times this year.
I think that this season, if we're talking about, you're putting together a team. So ideally, you're putting together an ideal coaching staff that best takes advantage of what players do.
That's fair.
And are not just caught in an offense where they run jet sweeps all the time, that Steve Smith says is a very Saturday offense. I mean, you'd like to think that what is Deontay Johnson doing in an Andy Reid style offense as opposed to what he was in? If we're just talking about these players as the players that they are, then I take Deontay for sure.
This is a real indictment of the Steelers' offensive coordinator.
but Pickens might be. We said in 2 years.
There's
a
a lot
year
of
from
interesting
now,
choices.
a year from now,
Yeah.
Pickens is on
Pickens
this
is
list.
on that list.
In terms
Yeah.
of ability,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like he's closer to Jamar Chase in my mind.
Yes.
Just in terms of the things he can do, and he's trending way up.
That catch he made against the
Oh,
Browns.
I still can't believe he caught that
might have
ball.
been better than Odell Beckham Jr. catch.
It was insane.
Like that was ridiculous.
And in a big
Well,
spot.
and Pickens feels more reliable. He's not just making the circus catch for you; he's catching the ball.
Right.
But yes, again, he's young. It's hard. Jamar Chase had those 5 years with Joe Burrow in his rookie year. He was in a smart offense. He had a lot of other guys around him drawing attention as well. T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd in a solid run game behind Joe Mixon that he could have that breakout first year. But I've talked to multiple general managers who a year ago said to me that they thought George Pickens was the best wide receiver in last year's class. The issue, of course, were some questions about things not necessarily related to how he played on the field. And again, I think that everybody in the Steelers hamstrung a year ago or last year was hamstrung by the offense.
Who they're bringing back. So that's good. Bringing back the OC.
Good if you're a Browns fan.
Yeah.
yeah, we're excited
The
about
let's go
offensive
to the
line was
O-line.
the hardest decision
Yeah.
here, Aditi, and hopefully you, knowing the AFC North as well as you do, can give us a little insight.
it. Maybe we should ask her for her. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say maybe we should ask her
all
for hers
Ravens and
before
Browns.
she sees ours. Yeah, it's Baltimore and Cleveland heavy.
Do we lose Aditi?
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, there's
No,
one.
I'm just reading, and I'm sitting here mentally going through my head. Is there anybody on the Bengals that I would swap in?
I would
Is
say-
there anybody?
I think maybe Alex Kappa had a better year than Wyatt Teller, or maybe you put Alex Kappa at one of the tackle spots because I think he could play any position.
I don't think Teller had a very good year. I just don't know if there's
But-
a lot of great options.
Kevin
Yeah.
Zeitler of the
I don't-
Ravens, also another Raven.
That one's really hard to disagree with too. And again, I think this is you're looking to the coming year
Sure.
as opposed to saying, this is what the past year gave us.
Right.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
trying
you
to
want me
project for next
complain
year.
about my husband all the time? The tea kettle is going.
I heard
on TV.
I did hear that.
Yeah. Like, if you're running a tea kettle, stand next to it and turn it off.
I'm getting some real issue vibes from you right now.
Can we get him on the show?
And
Bring
I'll
him more
assure you
here.
he does not watch the show because
No.
she's talking right now like she's talking to her mother.
We need to get him on the show.
I can't talk to my mother. I can't talk to my mother about it because then my mother will say, see, I told you so. See,
He definitely does not watch this show. We can confirm he is
Oh
not
my
watching
God.
this show.
We need him on. We actually need to get him. Not with Aditi.
100%.
Not with
No,
Aditi.
that's a
but
no.
separately.
That's a
you know
no.
what happens? You know what gets me as trouble is like, I'll tweet something and a week and a half later, it'll be like, can you not put this picture of our daughter on Twitter? Or can you not do this? And the delay makes me know that it's one of his friends
That
has shared
sees it,
this.
yeah.
He
He doesn't mess around with social media, I'm guessing.
I mean, maybe I don't know. I stopped following him years ago when I found out. It's the things that you do to keep your marriage
Oh
going.
my God.
I stopped
This is
following.
great.
Did you block him yet?
No, that
That's
I
next.
haven't done. You know, it's so interesting you talk about blocking because I probably shouldn't admit this, but there are certain people that really, really, really get off on just going after me. And it could be like, one day you go after me for X, and then the next day you go after me for Y, not realizing that the day before you were trying to get me to say Y, whatever
I
it
know.
is. But I don't hit the block button because I don't want them to know
The
That's
satisfaction.
they've gotten to
Thank
me
you.
or
I'm
they
the
affect-
exact.
That's
do
why I do the
mute,
mute.
though.
I do the mute
I
button.
do
I no
mute.
longer do block because
Yeah.
if you mute somebody, they don't know it.
Exactly.
you don't have
That's
to
the
hear their
thing.
nonsense.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't need you. Although, like, Twitter has changed in the last few months. I just don't read my timeline as much, which is sad because in the last 5 years, I've also had wonderful interactions on Twitter.
Absolutely.
And met some great, friends, made Twitter friends. So I'm sorry that I don't read my notifications anymore. It's just the whole situation has
No,
changed.
I don't either.
I'm not a big blocker, frankly. I
No.
know, a guy like Mike Silver loves hitting block, block.
Oh,
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aditi, get back to the football for a minute. I'm curious because today, we wanted, especially G and I, we've been saying Prefer sucks, got to get rid of him. But they fired Joe Woods right after the season, and now 2 months later, almost a month and a half later, they fire Prefer, and it looks like they're going to try to steal Ray Ventrone, the former Browns player, from the Colts. Were you surprised when you heard they fired him today?
I think there's a lot of there's a way of respectfully doing something, and so I think that when you look in the instance of, let's say, Howard or Kiffin, and I'm surmising here, but we all know that there are situations where it's kind of like you're free to go look for something, and perhaps Prefer was told, we're not going to necessarily hold you. You're free to go and see if there's a better fit. And perhaps that better fit hasn't happened per Prefer. He hasn't found anything. And so while it's news publicly to everybody now that there is a separation, perhaps this was just kind of like the respectful, quiet way. He knew that there was a separation, but they were giving him time to go find something else.
Yeah, that's something we hadn't thought of or discussed.
That sounds
possible.
Entirely likely. What we had kind of surmised here is once the Indianapolis coaching situation kind of resolved itself, that Ventrone was maybe perhaps told the same thing in Indianapolis, and now suddenly what the Browns consider to be an upgrade is suddenly available, and they acted on it. So I don't know which scenario is I think they're both plausible.
They're both, that's my guess. Again, and it doesn't really matter because it's done at this point.
Sure.
And clearly the headline, the more important piece to Browns fans at least should be that the Browns are working to indeed upgrade, and not just on the field, but as we have talked about a million times, the growth and development of players is just as important, and putting those players in the right spot. The growth, the development and putting the players in the right spot is just as important as getting the right players in there.
We have 1 minute left before we have to let you go. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we've got a minute. Let's pick a head coach for our team.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. That's going to be really tough.
Yeah, John Harbaugh.
Wow, without
What's
hesitation.
that?
John Harbaugh is
Well,
our
it's
head
very
coach.
easy. I mean, honestly, no offense to Stefanski, but I think at this point, you'd have to go Harbaugh head coach, Zach Taylor offensive coordinator, and Mike Tomlin defensive coordinator, no?
I don't know that I'd make Zach the offensive coordinator. I don't know that I'd make Kevin the offensive coordinator either.
Okay.
Or maybe I would make Kevin the offensive coordinator because he wouldn't necessarily. Yeah, I would actually. Yeah, John Harbaugh would be my head coach. Mike Tomlin would be my defensive coordinator, and Kevin would be my offensive coordinator, not Zach.
Hell of a staff.
All right.
Hell of a staff.
I mean, it would be, wouldn't it? And then who'd be my eye in the sky, my situational football, all-knowing, when to throw the challenge flag, when to.
Me and Bull.
Let's go with Bill Cowher.
Right.
By the way, I believe I could walk into an NFL front office today and be better than half the GMs in the league.
Of course you do.
Okay. Well, it's important that you have that confidence to know that. And
I do.
why
That's
you're
what a
so
mother would tell her child.
Because
well, good for you.
You
Because
can be
Aditi,
anything you want to be.
Because Aditi, not because I necessarily know more than these idiots, because first of all, I'm smarter than most football people, naturally smart. Number two,
It just comes
I
easy.
would listen, actually listen. I would not let my ego, which is big when it comes to radio, but I would listen to people that know. I would hire smart people. I would listen to those people to advise me.
What if you
in
thought
the
they
right
were
direction.
idiots?
No, I wouldn't hire
No, but
idiots.
this is, you know what? Adam's making a great point, and it's really interesting because
Thank you.
I'm actually in this like long 3-day long conversation with a buddy of mine who is in a front office considering changing teams and considering various jobs. And obviously, I have a totally different viewpoint, but I'm giving him my input. And he's valuing it because you want that 360-degree view. And I think sometimes, to Adam's point, when you're in football, you're used to being in that bubble. You're used to kind of following that same train of thought, that same idea that for your X receiver, you need traits A, B, and C. But sometimes when you come at it from a different POV, from a different set of experiences,
Right.
from a different, like I would sit here and argue, and go ahead, G, you can, rub your head and can't believe my arrogance, but I would argue that I understand the ecosystem of a locker room better than a lot of scouts. Now, I may not understand the hitch in somebody's throw and how impactful it is and whether it will translate on the next level or be a detriment or not. But I can talk about the way that a locker room functions, the way personalities work together, I think better than a scout who sits in a room and watches film all the time and then goes out to a pro day. It's just a different it's a different expertise. It's a different lane. And so when Adam says he'd be willing to listen to all of these different viewpoints, to take all of these different experts from different lanes, I think he would incorporate more information than perhaps a traditional
I
general
tell you
manager
though,
does.
Aditi, my only concern about Bull is going to be his confidence. You got to be confident to be a general manager.
My
I don't
confidence
want
can
this
be a little low.
wishy-washy, I don't know where I am, where I stand kind of thinking. I want a definitive
Not
person,
happening, yeah.
and his confidence needs some help.
It does. I need a boost. I
But
need
he
a
has
confidence
good
boost.
logic. So as long as he runs through the geometry proof and he runs through the here's my logic, I
Right.
think that then there's no reason not to feel good about it.
Well, I don't know that I'm running through it, but I'll walk through it. Thank you.
Just a quick note before we say goodbye. There are those in our chat room that are saying, quote, I want a wife like Aditi. You're very popular among our viewers.
Chat's going
Well, I
crazy.
do the laundry, and I do cook, and I do family dance party with the kids. So
So what does your husband do? I mean, what's he doing? You're cooking, you're cleaning,
calling
you're
me out.
working, you're doing all
It's
this.
a question I ask on a daily basis.
He's
So-
making tea. That's what he's doing.
I'll tell you what he does is he puts the teapot on.
That's
Now,
true.
the next step is getting them to take it off.
Aditi, you can shut off the
Baby steps.
teapot now that you're done with us. You can go shut off the teapot.
Aditi, you're the
We'll
best.
See you later.
You are the best.
Bye, guys.